Neon open sign, pink in the rain. Only lit thing on a dead-end lane.
Pushed the door and the bell rang twice. Coffee smell hit and the warmth hit nice. Neon open sign said come inside. When the rest of the city said goodnight. Soaking from the knees on down. Only diner left in this part of town. Chrome stools spinning with nobody on them. Menu sticky from the morning's problem. But the lights were warm and the rain was loud on the roof like an uninvited crowd. And the waitress nodded without asking what. Just poured a black one in a ceramic cup. Like she's done this 1,003 a.m.s before. Another ghost walking through the door. Took the stool by the window, third from the end, where the neon outside pretend to be a sunset, pink and blue, reflecting in the coffee I'm looking through. At a diner, time forgot to close, where the pie is old and the jukebox knows every song that ever made a man sit still longer than he planned. Watching rain make mirrors of the street, somewhere warm, somewhere with the seas.
Some signs say open, but they mean survive. This one said open and it meant to lie. At 3 a.m. when the world goes dark, every neon sign's a question mark.
Neon open sign,
Pink in the rain. I didn't come to escape the pain.
I came because the light was on. Neon open sign, now I belong. Booth for window seat, vinyl cracked and red, slid in heavy like the word I never said. Sugar packets lined up by the napkin stack. Booth for window seat, I'm not going back. The vinyl made that sound when I sat down, sticky from whoever came before in this town of insomniacs and shift workers and ghosts who need a window more than they need a host. A menu nobody reads past midnight. Why? The same three things, the same reheated pie, but the booth holds you like a hand that's warm between the cold outside and the inside storm of whatever you walked in, carrying tonight. Booth fall catches everything in neon light. There's a scratch in the table shaped like Tennessee, or a river, or the path between her seat and me. She's at the counter, I'm back here by the glass, watching rain rewrite the parking lot, watching minutes pass in that slow down away where clocks don't matter. Just the sound of coffee pour and kitchen clatter, and the heater clicking on beneath the sill, and the rain that says I'll wait until you're ready. And I'm not, but booth full doesn't judge, just holds me like the floor holds the building up without applause. Booth full, window seat, no cars needed to be here, just the rain and me. Window seats and diners know the truth. They've held the elbow of every wasted youth, every midnight thinker, every broken plan. Window seats don't judge, they understand. Booth for window seat, the rain outside paints the glass in colors I can't hide from or run from, or pretend I'm fine. booth for window seat. Pour me another line. Black coffee, no name. She didn't ask, just parted like she saw behind the mask. Well, I'm fine and just passing through. Black coffee knows what small talk can't undo. First sip burns the way the truth does. Little sharp before the warmth comes. Ceramic cup with a chip on the rim. Diner mug that's been through thick and thin. More nights than me, more hands than I held. More 3 a.m. stories than I ever spelled out loud. But tonight the coffee's strong enough to sit here. Strong enough to belong to a counter where the cream is in a tin. And nobody asks where you've been. Waitress refilled without me asking twice. Poured it side eye like it's free advice. To stay a while, the rain won't quit. And the next bus ain't running, so just sit with the cup and the clock and the chrome. Sometimes the best place to feel alone is a room that's built for company. Counter seats for midnight refugees who don't want saving, just want steam. Rising from a cup between the last bad day and the next good one. Black coffee, no name, and the night's begun. No cream, no sugar, nothing sweet, just the bitter and the heat. Sometimes that's what healing tastes like at a counter late at night. Black coffee, no name. Refill the cup. Some nights you just need to show up somewhere warm that doesn't ask your name. Black coffee, every cup tastes the same as the last time I was lost and came to a diner in the rain.
The waitress knows before you say a word. Seen 1,000 midnights, read every third. Face that walks and running, face that stays too late. The waitress knows she doesn't judge the wait. Name tag faded, but the smile is clear. Apron tied like she's been commandeering the night shift since before the highway moved the traffic elsewhere. And the diner proved that some things survive by staying open when the rest of town is busy closing. Take your time, she said, 7 words that fix a broken mind more than politics or therapy or the self-help shelf. The waitress at the counter healing stealth. She wiped the counter in a circle slow, like drawing something only she would know. A map of every face that came and went through the door that's slightly crooked bent. From 1,000 desperate midnight pushes by the ones who needed more than rushes of a city that forgot their name. She remembers that's a quiet claim, not fame, just I know how you take it. from across the counter. You can't fake it. That kind of care at 3 a.m. for free. The waitress knows what the city doesn't see. She's seen the couple that stopped talking. She's seen the man who started walking. Circles in the light at 2. She's seen it all. Still pause for you. The waitress knows and doesn't say a thing, just to pour the night, the offering of a warm cup in cold hands. The waitress knows, she understands.
Sugar packet tower 5 high and leaning, building something while my mind is cleaning out the wheat, the stress, the noise. Sugar packet stacked like a balancing poise between falling apart and holding on. Sugar packet tower almost done. Yeah, pink one, yellow one, white one, blue. Every sweetener got a different view of what this coffee needs. I'm debating between the pink and the yellow while creating architecture out of boredom and the need to keep my hands from checking the feed. Phone face down by the cup, 3% battery and 0 interest spent on whoever texted at 11. This diner at 3 a.m. is closer to heaven. 6 high now, in the 7th in my hand. This is how a grown man makes a stand against the nothing of a Tuesday night, where the biggest thrill is getting the height of a sugar stack above the napkin box and pretending that the tower talks about patience and about the way some things hold if you let them stay still enough. And then she coughed, not a cough but a laugh. She tried to keep soft from the count of 3 stools down. She'd been watching my construction going down since packet 2. And that's how it starts, a sugar tower and a laugh in the dark. The tower fell when the train passed by, shook the counter and the reason why I came here shifted from the rain to the laugh I wanna hear again, yeah. Sugar packet tower on the counter chrome. First thing I've built that felt like home. In a diner at 3 a.m. Go figure. One laugh from her and the night got bigger. 3 stools down, she sat with her chin on her hand. Coffee cold, but she didn't demand a refill, like the cup was just a prop for a scene she wasn't ready to stop. 3 stools down and a laugh that crossed the gap between us like a bridge I thought was lost. She said 7, I said what? She said your record's 7, you almost got 8, but the train shook the foundation. I looked at the sugar pile, a ruination of pink packets in the chrome debris. She'd been counting my construction silently from the counter where her coffee sat, cold since God knows when. Imagine that, a stranger tracking your architecture when you thought nobody in this sector of the night was paying attention. 3 stools down, an intervention disguised as a laugh about a sugar stack. I said, were you watching the whole time? She said, there's nothing else in this diner shrine worth watching at 3 a.m. The cook's asleep, The waitress counts the tips she's gonna keep, and the parking lot's the same rerun of wet asphalt and a missing sun. She stirred a cold coffee like a reflex motion, the spoon go in circles like a small devotion to routine. I said, want a warm one? She said, you buyin'? I said, the night is young, enough for 2 cups and a conversation between a sugar architect and his one-woman nation. 3 stools felt like 3 miles before. Now it feels like 3 inches from the door to wherever this goes at 3 a.m. 3 stools down, and she's closing them. Stools down, she moved one closer, not all the way, just a counter's width of composure. Still between us, but the gap got kind. 3 stools turned to 2. I don't mind. Jukebox Ghost in the corner still works. She put a quarter in between the perks of a conversation getting warm, and the song came on like a gentle storm of someone's memory, not mine, not hers. Jukebox Ghost playing what the diner deserves at 3 a.m. Something slow and low, a song from a decade neither of us would know. The machine lit up in orange and green, oldest thing in the room besides the cream, and the metal picture by the register. She pressed B7 like a minister, selecting scripture, confident and sure. Trust me on this one was all I heard her say before the needle found the groove, and the diner had a reason to move. Not fast, just the kind to sway the countertops allow. At the end of the day, the cook looked up, the waitress paused to sweep. Even the rain outside adjusted to the beat. She knew every word but sang 0 with them, just mouthed along like a secret hymn between her lips and the diner's air. And I watched the jukebox light paint her hair in orange stripes that moved with the bass of a song that made this greasy place feel like a ballroom for the unemployed romantics who find love in the most frantic, unplanned places between the salt and pepper, and a song that made the bad nights better. The jukebox hummed its final note. She said that song's the antidote for any night that's gone too long. I said, play it again. She smiled. Wrong answer. You never play the same song twice at a diner. That's the only rule that's nice. Jukebox Ghost still glowing in the corner. The song ended but the feeling's a foreigner that refuses to leave the counter now. Jukebox Ghost, take another bow. Napkin Conversation pen she borrowed from the check, drawing circles while the words connect between 2 people who skip the small talk. Napkin Conversation, we went straight to the walk through the deeper things, the 3 a.m. kind, where the filter's off and the heart's unsigned. She drew a map on the napkin, where she's from. A dot for the house, a line for the road she'd run when the house got loud, which was most nights. past the gas station with the broken lights to a park bench where she'd read till dark. And I said I had a fire escape, same park in a Jeep, a vertical 6 floors up, where the city noise became enough white noise to drown the other kind. She drew my fire escape next to her dotted line. 2 childhoods on a paper square. Napkin conversation, we were getting somewhere. She asked me what I do, I said I leave places, mostly that's my main reprieve from the feeling that I'll mess it up if I stay too long. She picked the cup up and put it down without a sip. Same, she said, except I let the ship sail without me, standing on the dock, watching everybody board the clock of their lives while I reread the schedule. Like the next one's coming, but the next one's gentle. I tell myself in places just like this, at the counter of a diner that I'll miss when I leave tomorrow or the day after that. The napkin's full now, both our stories mapped in blue ink on a tissue that'll get trashed by the morning shift. Who'll never know what 2 strangers drew at the counter's glow. Napkin conversation, more than most get in months of dinners, more than most relationships achieve in years of trying. Napkin conversation, honest, no denying. 2 people drawing lifetimes on a square at a counter where the coffee doesn't care.
Her coffee went cold 2 refills ago, but she's still holding it, like letting go would mean admitting that the night moved on. Her coffee went cold, but the talk is warm. She wrapped both hands around the ceramic white, like it was the only anchor in the night, keeping her from floating off the stool into whatever broken golden rule. She came in here escaping from it 1 a.m., 2 hours before I showed up, done with my own version of the same disease. The midnight need for somewhere warm that sees you without the daytime decoration, just to count the coffee conversation and the honesty of fluorescent light that hides nothing, and forgive the sight of mascara slightly smudged from rain, and a woman too tired to explain why she's here so she doesn't. And that's fine, her coffee went cold at the same rate as mine. Her coffee went cold at the same rate as mine. The waitress came to pour, but she said no. Covered the cup like protecting the flow of whatever this night was becoming. Between 2 stools, between the humming of the fridge and the rain and the cook's own snore. She didn't want to break the metaphor of a cup gone cold being enough. Warm hands in the cold cup, that's love. In a diner, that's the closest thing to honest that 2 midnights can bring. Without a plan, without a name exchange, the coffee went cold and everything changed. Some things are better cold, revenge they say, and coffee at a diner where you wanna stay. Not for the drink, but for the company of someone holding theirs the same as me. Her coffee went cold and she didn't care. The cup was just an excuse to be there. next to someone else who couldn't sleep. Her coffee went cold, but the night runs deep.
The cook's radio behind the wall, playing something soft I can't recall the name of, but I know the feeling. The cook's radio, the diner ceiling holds the sound like a hand holds heat. The cook's radio made the night complete. It came through the pasta with the amber light, a frequency between the left and right of what the station meant to play and what the static chose to say. Some late night show with a host who's tired, playing songs that somebody required for the 3 a.m. commute. And the spill of that signal through the kitchen grill into the diner where we sat made the whole room lean toward that sound. The waitress stopped her sweep, the coffee pot paused its drip, and she looked at me and I looked at her in the middle of a song we both concur was the best thing on at this hour. I said, "You know this one?" She shook her head. "No, but my body does," is what she said, and her fingers tapped the counter chrome in a rhythm that felt close to home. Not a house, but the abstract kind, where the body goes when the mind finally quits its shift and lets the rest of you respond to what the ears suggest. And the cook's radio kept the signal warm, a lighthouse in a coffee-scented storm. And for 40 seconds nothing in the diner moved except her fingers on the chrome in the groove. The song ended and the static came, but the feeling stayed, refused the same fate as radio waves that lingered close between us like a quiet overdose of the kind of peace you can't arrange. The cook's radio, I'll never know the name of that song, but I'll know the frame. Her fingers on the counter, 3 a.m. The cook's radio, play it again.
What she said about leaving made me put the cup down. Everyone I love becomes a town I drive through, but don't stop in anymore. What she said about leaving, I've heard that before in my own voice at 4 a.m. What she said about leaving sounded just like them. Every excuse I've made to disappear. What she said, I've been saying it for years. Started with a mom who left at 10, not the age, but the time, 10 p.m. On a Thursday when the dishes were still wet and the car was packed with just enough regret to fill the trunk but not the tank. She drove until the empty hit, point blank at a gas station in the town with no name. And she called once, said, "I'm not the same person who can stay," and that became the gene she passed down like a color or a gene for leaving. Biological goodbye, written in the DNA of the alibi. She said, "I've left 6 cities and 4 men, and a dog I think about now and then, more than the man, if I'm being honest, which is the whole point of this 3 a.m. pitch I'm giving you at a counter that doesn't care that I'm one train ticket from nowhere again." And the Wurlitzer underneath, a story played a note between her teeth and mine, a note that said, "I know,
because I packed the same bags years ago. And I'm sitting in this diner for the same reason, running from the running game. Two people at a counter trading maps of every place they left through the back door. The five escaped the 6 a.m. flight. Two experts in the leaving of the light. What she said about leaving was my autobiography, spoken by a stranger with a coffee in a diner where the neon says stay. What she said about leaving, I felt the same way. Counter light flicker. 1, 2 going bad. Buzzing like the best conversation I've had in months, held together by the hum of a fluorescent giving up and then some. Counter light flicker for a half-second dark, then back. And in that gap, a spark between the stools where her knee met mine. Counter light flicker, crossing every line. The overhead tube been threatening to die since I walked in. And every time it tries, the diner goes from chrome to shadow play. Faces half lit in a different way than fluorescent flat, more like the real way people look when the light reveals only what the dark cooperates to show. And in that flicker something shifted low in the register of how close we sat, her knee against mine. She noticed that I noticed, and nobody moved a leg, nobody pulled back, nobody begged the other to pretend it wasn't there. Counter light flicker in the electric air. Waitress hit the tube with the broom handle once, a trick that works for a certain number of months before the thing just gives. And when she hit it, the light came back full, and we were sitting closer than the fluorescent story showed, in the shadow version of the diner's code, where two strangers let the darkness be permission for a proximity that the bright lights won't allow at first. The flicker was the blessing and the curse, 'cause now I know what she looks like when the light is half, and I want that again. Some things only happen in the dark. A flicker, a knee, a fluorescent spark. The light came back, but the distance didn't. Counter light flicker, and the rule was broken. Broken, 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 broken. Counter light flicker, buzzing overhead, saying everything that hasn't been said between two people in a diner's gap. Counter light flicker, no going back. 3 a.m. confessional at a counter for two. She said, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? And the diner held his breath, like the room just knew this was the moment that the neon was made for. She put both hands flat on the counter chrome and said, I haven't had a place I call home in 7 years. I moved before the lease runs out, because the moment that the piece of a new apartment starts to feel like mine, I hear my mother's engine in the sign that says you're comfortable. And comfortable means you got something to lose, and losing means the scenes play out the same. Someone leaves at 10 p.m. on a Thursday and
your tin again. Standing in the kitchen with the dishes wet, in the car pulling out, you'll never forget. And the rose underneath the word just held like a safety net for everything she spelled out on the counter in the diner's care. The most honest sitting spoken to the air. I put my hand on the counter next to hers, not on it, next to like a word that occurs to you, but you don't say it yet. You let it breathe in the space between the want and the reprieve. And I said I haven't stayed past morning once in 3 years. Every woman gets the dunce version of me, the one who's charming at midnight and gone by the time the coffee's right. Because I learned from a split-screen childhood that love divides and leaving is the good decision, the brave one, the one that saves you from becoming what the staying caves into. And she looked at my hand on the chrome and moved her pinky till it touched my own. 1 centimeter of skin on skin at a diner counter, and the night caved in. The rain outside went hard like it agreed that some confessions need a storm to feed. The volume drown the fear, cover the sound of 2 people finally putting their armor down on a Formica counter at 3 a.m. In the diner they'll remember, but never find again. 3 a.m. confessional, her pinky on mine, the smallest touch across the biggest line between a stranger and whatever comes after. 3 a.m. confessional, somewhere between tears and laughter. The bravest thing in this diner tonight wasn't walking in, it was staying in the light.
Ketchup bottle honesty. She picked it up and said, you know what's real about this stuff? It only comes out when you hit it right. Ketchup bottle honesty. At the edge of night, same with people you can't force to pour. You just hold the bottle and you knock once more. After the heavy, she went light on purpose, like a diver coming up to the surface. Too fast is dangerous, so you decompress with something dumb. And she pointed at the mess of the ketchup station by the pie display and said the secret to a diner stay is the condiments. They've been here since July. Some of them that Tabasco might apply for a pension. And I laughed like the air escaped from something pressurized in there, where the confessions live and laughter healed the gap between what's spoken and what's sealed. She rearranged the salt and pepper set like a general deploying a regiment of glass soldiers on a Formica field. This is you, she said, the pepper, your shield is being funny, and this is me, the salt. My defense mechanism is the vault of moving cities before anyone gets close. She knocked them together, and this is what the dose of 3 a.m. and bad coffee and rain achieves. 2 seasonings that finally believes they're better side by side than on the shelf. I said that's the deepest thing I've heard about myself from a condiment. She threw a sugar packet at my chest, and the diner's quiet racket of laughter felt like medicine on tap. Humor after honesty, the human trap, door that saves you from the weight of that confession. Laugh it off, but keep the map she drew on the napkin. Keep the tab of her knee on yours. Keep the gap closed. Ketchup bottle wisdom from a stranger's lap of the diner counter, closing the gap. Ketchup bottle honesty. She's funnier than me, and braver and more broken and more free than anyone I've met in proper life. Ketchup bottle honesty. I like this night. The rain changed sides, was hitting the left glass. Now it's on the right, the wind shifted past the diner's roof and took the storm along. The rain changed sides and so did she, one stool strong. She moved without announcement, just the scrape of a stool on tile, a chrome-legged escape from 3 stools down to the one beside mine. And the rain changed sides outside, like the weather was a choreographer, directing everything from the atmosphere down to the seating chart of a midnight diner, where 2 people keep redefining finer points of closeness, elbow now at elbow's reach, and the armrest chrome between us like a beach that's narrow enough to touch across. The rain changed sides and I forgot the cost of letting someone sit this near. The storm moved east and left behind a drizzle, the kind that sounds like bacon on a griddle, soft and constant, not the heavy pour that shook the windows 20 minutes before. She said it's nicer from this side, your window's better. I said liar, she said okay, whatever. The truth is the stool was cold and yours looked warm. I said that's a worse lie than the storm. Excuse, she said fine, I moved because I wanted to, and 3 a.m. because is the only reason anybody needs to sit closer to a stranger who reads my confessions like they're not insane. The rain changed sides and nothing felt the same. When the rain changes direction, pay attention. Something in the atmosphere's dimension shifted, and the diner felt it too. The rain changed sides and my whole night view. The rain changed sides and she's right here, elbow to elbow in the midnight clear of a diner getting quieter by the hour. The rain changed sides and so did the power of this night to keep surprising me. The rain changed sides and finally I'm free. Last refill, the waitress said last call. Not for booze, but for the protocol of a diner that's been open all night long. Last refill, the morning's coming on like a guest who wasn't invited but arrived. Last refill, I want this cup to last the ride. The clock hit 5 and the kitchen light changed from amber to the fluorescent rearranged. Morning shift, the cook stretched his back, and a new one walked in through the back with a box of eggs and a different song on the radio. And just like that, the long night started folding up its tent. She noticed first, the magic's almost spent. She said, watching the sky through the glass go gray. Diners are different in the day, the same booth, the same cup, the same chrome, but the 3 a.m. version feels like home, and the 7 a.m. version feels like work. I held my cup and felt the last warmth lurk. The waitress from our shift hung her apron up, washed her hands and poured herself a cup. The real last one drank it standing by the door, looking at the lot like she'd seen it 4,000 times, but still checked every dawn for something different. Then she yawned and walked out to a car that's older than the diner's roof. And I thought, there's your proof that showing up at night is an act of faith. Last refill in the mornings at the gate, knocking like reality politely does at the end of every night, because the light comes back whether you're ready or not. Last refill, one more sip of what we've got. She held her cup to mine and tapped the rim, a toast to nothing and to everything within. This night that started with a neon sign and ended with her stool pressed up to mine. Last refill, the cup is almost through. The diner's shifting into morning's view, but I'm holding this last sip like a prayer. Last refill, she's still here, still there.
She wrote on the napkin, folded it in half, slid it across the counter with a quiet laugh. Don't read it here, she said, read it on the bus or wherever people like us go when the diner kicks us out at dawn. She wrote on the napkin and the pen was gone. I watched her write with the borrowed pen, the same one from the Napkin Conversation. And hours ago when she drew a childhood map, now she's writing something in the gap between the coffee ring and the counter's edge. Small letters, careful like a pledge, or a poem, or a number, or a name, or all of them, or none. The game of a napkin at a diner is you never know what the paper holds until the show is over and you're standing in the cold, reading blue ink on a paper fold that a stranger gave you at 5 a.m. She wrote on the napkin and I held it like a gem. She capped the pen and put it by the cream, like returning a sword after a dream, a battle. And the napkin sat between my coffee cup and hers in the in-between of everything the night had been, and made a tiny paper square that weighed more than my bag, more than the rain, more than the reason I got on the train that brought me to this town, this street, this stool. She wrote on a napkin like the golden rule. A diner says if you can't say it with your voice, write it on the only paper that the night provides, and trust the stranger to unfold it right. I put it in my jacket pocket, left side, over the heart, a cliche I can't hide from, because some nights earn that cliche. She wrote on a napkin and I'm keeping it this way. She wrote on the napkin, folded it with care, like origami for the 3 a.m. prayer. I don't know what it says, not yet. She wrote on the napkin, the best thing I'll get from a night I almost slept through at home. She wrote on the napkin, and I'm not alone. Parking lot rain, we're outside now. The diner behind us and the question how do two people who shared a counter's length of 3 a.m. truth find the strength to walk in different directions from a door that gave us everything? And what's more, the rain is lighter now like it agrees. Parking lot rain falling to its knees. The cold hit different after diner warmth, like stepping out of a greenhouse into the north of reality, where the fluorescent glow gets replaced by the parking lot's show of puddles and the street lights dying buzz, and the nothing of a morning that just was born 5 minutes ago, and gray and wet
And she stood beside me in the silhouette of the woman from the counter, but now with breath that I could see in the cold. Proof that death hasn't taken the night yet, not quite. We're standing in the parking lot between the night and the morning. Between the door and the car, parking lot rain, we've come this far. She zipped her jacket and I watched her hands do the thing that human bodies understand is the prelude to departure. The zip, the collar pop, the final sip of air before you walk into the rain and become a stranger once again. But she didn't walk, she stood and looked at the diner's neon like a book. She finished but didn't want to show. I hate this part, she said more to herself than to me, and I knew what she meant. The gap between the night that's spent and the morning that expects you to pretend you didn't just confess to a stranger friend. Parking lot between the diner and the dawn, the rain almost done, the magic almost gone, but not yet. We're still standing in the wet parking lot rain, not ready to forget. Parking lot rain on our shoulders and our shoes. Two people with everything to gain and nothing to lose except the night. And that's already leaving. Parking lot rain, and I'm still here believing.
The sign turned off, the neon clicked and died. The word open disappeared from the night side of the diner wall, and what was left was gray concrete and a bulb that's done for the day. The sign turned off and the spell broke clean. The most beautiful, ugly thing I've seen. It happened at 5:22 exact. The pink went first, then the blue retract. Head into the tube like a breath sucked in, and the parking lot lost its violin of color. Just the gray of the actual world, the pre-neon truth of the concrete and the curled paint on the diner's name. Peeling old, the version of this place the daylight's told is a different story than the midnight's one, where the neon paints a kingdom from a run-down building on a road that lost its traffic to a highway built in '89, and that's the graphic novel of every diner that survives. The neon hides the cracks that daylight drives. She watched it die and said, there it is. The moment the pumpkin eats the fizz of the carriage, and I laughed because the reference was exactly right. The deference to fairy tale from someone who just told me the rawest story I've been told, in a diner that's now just a building, without its neon dress, without the gilding of the night. And still she stood beside me, undisguised, undressed by the morning, shyly, not defiantly regular, defiantly here in the gray of a dawn that's crystal clear. No filter, no purple, no excuse to stay. The sign turned off and she didn't walk away. Without the neon, we're just two wet people at a diner underneath the steeple of a church that's waking up the block. The sign turned off, but we didn't stop.
The sign turned off, and the night surrendered. But the thing between us isn't gendered. To the dark, it lives in daylight too. The sign turned off, but I still see you. Open again tomorrow. That's what the sign will say. When the sun goes down and the neon finds its way. Back to the tubes, back to the glass. Open again tomorrow. And I'll be back, I'll pass through that door when the bell rings twice. Open again tomorrow. And so will she, I think. We stood in the parking lot until the first car passed on the road. A morning nurse, or a baker, or someone whose alarm still works. And the normalcy did harm to the bubble that the diner built around two people and a night. But the sound of tires on wet road wasn't death. It was just the morning catching breath. And she looked at me and said the thing that made the parking lot feel like a ring. Same time tomorrow, casual light. Like she wasn't asking me to fight. Every instinct that says leave, says run. She said same time, like the night had won. I said I don't live here. She said neither do I. I was passing through and I said then why tomorrow? And she said because the sign will say open and the coffee's fine. And the booth by the window holds two. And the cook's radio plays at 2 a.m. something neither of us will know. And the neon turns the rain into a show. And I wanna know your name, but not right now. I wanna learn it at a counter, slow. Not in a parking lot where the morning steals the color from the night. I wanna know how your name sounds under neon, not in gray. Same time tomorrow. What do you say? I reached in my pocket and unfolded the napkin. It said, booth 4 tomorrow, I'll bring better jokes. And underneath the name, I smiled. The diner was closed, but tomorrow it opens again. Open again tomorrow. I read her name in blue ink on a napkin in the rain. And the morning traffic started like a drum. Open again tomorrow. And I'll come with a name she doesn't know yet, and a joke that's worse than hers, and a jacket soaked from the walk, and a reason not to leave. Open again tomorrow. And I believe for the first time in the running years that stay and starts with a diner and 2 coffees and a napkin and a name and no more fears. Open again tomorrow. I'll be here.